Hey guys, welcome back to Reading Between the Headlines. Took a little break there, but we're back and things are happening. As always, I'm Asaf Nisim. I guess I'll let you know if that changes, but in the meanwhile, let's do the thing. Headline number 1. Chelsea's Hazard says, "I think it is a goodbye." First things first, congratulations to Chelsea and all the supporters out there on winning the Europa League title. This competition is fast becoming increasingly more competitive and more featured in the spotlight of world football. But back to the story. So, the pin has finally dropped. Last we heard from Hazard, he had made a decision on where he would be next season, but he was unwilling to divulge exactly where that would be. After winning the Europa League in dominant fashion, more notably in the second half, Hazard has made it clear that it is time for a new challenge. Essentially, what we now know is that the will for a transfer is there. It's only a question as to whether or not the two clubs can agree terms. Chelsea don't have the incentive to let Hazard go on the cheap. Even though he's only got a year left on his contract, I'd think that, especially given the transfer ban, they'd rather let him go free in a year than get an undervalued transfer fee now. Let's not forget that financial fair play regulation is increasingly relevant these days, and they do look to balance the books every 3-year period. So the fact that Chelsea most likely won't be buying any new players amidst the transfer ban does not preclude them from wanting to get the highest fee possible in order to offset future purchases. As far as the decision to leave, I think it's clear that Chelsea fans generally respect what Hazard has done for the club the last 7 years, are sad to see him go, but will still honor and celebrate him as one of the best players, if not the best player, the club has ever had on its roster. Personally, I never thought he should go. And not because I'm a biased Chelsea fan. Well, maybe a little, but mainly because I don't see the appeal in going to a club where you're 1 in 100, maybe more, when you're at a huge club where you stand to become a real legend. I mean, Hazard seeing the project through at Chelsea would end in statues being built at the bridge. You might say he went to win trophies. I've heard this before, but you're not guaranteed winning trophies anywhere you go these days. For instance, Chelsea finished this season with more points than Real's measly 68. Granted, it was a miserable campaign for them. We both finished in 3rd. I suppose it's not really worth deliberating anyway. The decision seemed a deeply personal one that he did not take lightly, but he just wanted to try something new out in his career, and I respect that wholeheartedly. I can't say that I wish him much success at Real, but I do wish him a lot of personal success for the remainder of his career. We'll miss you, Eden. Not just Chelsea, but the Premier League as a whole. Headline number 2. He's Moyes at United. Arsenal fans call for Emery to be sacked after Europa League final defeat to Chelsea. What absolute rubbish. I mean, first of all, he's like Moyes at United? How does that even make sense? I've said it before, but anyone with a brain and eyes at this point can see that Moyes was not the problem at United. I'm not saying that he got everything right. What I am saying is that there were much bigger problems at United that David Moyes could not fix. So saying he's like Moyes at United is just a pretty empty statement. It's meaningless. I don't want to go on yet another rant about giving managers more time in a transitional period in the toughest league in the world before judging the project, but that truly is the gist of it. If you don't see Emery's quality as a manager, one willing to make tough decisions, to try a variety of approaches tactically, to leave a star player on the bench to light a fire under him, or not even on the bench for that matter, then I guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree. In fact, you're going to have to agree to disagree with managers like Pep Guardiola or Mauricio Pochettino, both whom have endorsed him as a very talented, scrupulous, hardworking manager. How poorly did Emery do this season? Well, they ended in 5th place on 70 points. Again, 2 points higher than Real Madrid's tally this season, having scored more than Chelsea, Manchester United, and Tottenham. I mean, there were ups and downs all season, but you must admit that when they were on it, they were fantastic. And not only that, it was often clear that they were tactically superior to their opponents. I don't agree that Arsenal need a complete overhaul either. I mean, they could definitely stand to refresh 3 to 4 key positions, Ozil being the first one that I think everybody can agree has had his go. He might be great for another club, but it just hasn't been a consistent, mutually beneficial relationship at Arsenal. You could say that the attacking phase is not the issue, and you'd probably be right by and large, but we all know that Aubameyang and Lacazette have been the key players there. There's no reason at all to continue to pay Ozil's wages when, to put it mildly, he has been less than effective. They probably need a new center back to challenge an aging Koscielny, and it wouldn't hurt to get another fullback or possibly a wingback, depending on what system they plan on playing predominantly. They might want to replace Ramsey, but Guendouzi is getting better and better, and between him, Granit Xhaka, Lucas Torreira, and of course Denis Suárez, they may feel like they have it covered. But they might, if they're not happy with Mohamed El Neni, they might want to add one more for depth. Once Bellerin and Suarez come back from their long-term injuries, Arsenal will see a major boost in quality on the pitch. All in all, I just don't see a good case for sacking Emery, and I don't think that a club like Arsenal would cave in that regard. Headline number 3. He's a golden oldie. Veteran Quagliarella wins Serie A Golden Boot aged 36. Who would have thought that a 36-year-old striker for Sampdoria could play 37 games, 3,197 minutes, get 8 assists, 26 goals, and the Italian Golden Boot? It is absolutely mind-boggling. The former Juve and Napoli star has just had the season of his life, and it's got to be yet another eye poke in Cristiano Ronaldo's legacy. Don't get me wrong, not winning the Italian Golden Boot is but a minuscule hiccup in Ronaldo's career, but it's got to be a mild annoyance for the man. How frustrating must it be to be that talented, one of the hardest working players in world football, to lose the Pichichi or Spanish Golden Boot 4 years in a row to Luis Suárez, 3 years in a row to the alien, the perennial thorn in your side, Lionel Messi, only to move to the Italian top flight, get knocked out of the Champions League by Ajax, and to top it all off, lose the Italian Golden Boot to a 36-year-old geriatric footballer having an aberration of a season. Ronaldo is not a guy that likes to be second best, and I don't think that the Scudetto will be very consoling for him. I don't think anybody believes that Ronaldo went to Italy to win the league title. He went to Italy to win the Champions League and all the personal accolades that go along with it. But this should be more about Quagliarella. I feel like I have to say it that way, otherwise there's absolutely zero chance that I'm going to get it right. Quagliarella, Quagliarella, Quagliarella. Oddly enough, at 36, he still hasn't retired from the Italian national team, but maybe for obvious reasons was left out of the Nations League squad. His fellow, much younger, much less prolific club strike partner, Gianluca Caprari, is on the roster, but if I was Roberto Mancini, I'd be having second thoughts. You gotta get the old man in. Headline number 4. Tottenham make £53 million move for Lo Celso. This is an interesting player. To be honest, I had not known much about him until I started reading up on him, reviewing his games this season with Real Betis, and checking out some of his highlights. In short, he's a midfielder listed on Wikipedia as a central midfielder who is comfortable both attacking and being that crucial reference point in the midfield. He is as happy bringing the ball up the pitch, cutting through the opposing press, as he is playing that final pass, or even playing a sort of winger role on the sides. His skill on the ball is pretty tremendous. He's got a strong left foot, but also not too shabby with his right. Of his 9 La Liga goals this season with Betis, 3 of them were scored with his right foot. He also scored 5 goals in 6 Europa League matches this season. He feels very much like a Nabil Fekir type player. So it's safe to say that the kid has a bright future ahead of him, and there are no shortage of clubs looking to sign him for next year. According to ESPN FC, Manchester United, Real Madrid, and seeming frontrunner Tottenham are competing for his signature at the moment. After buying him from PSG for just £20 million and a 20% sell-on clause, his current release clause is at £88 million. That's £35 million higher than the reported Spurs bid of £53 million. I can't imagine that having just bought him from PSG for £20 million, they're going to want to sell him for that cheap, especially given his unique versatility, his talent, and of course widespread interest from some of the biggest clubs in the world. If Spurs do end up signing him, the fee would probably be closer to the release clause, which is double Tottenham's record purchase. Either way, he would be a clear replacement for, sorry Spurs fans, Christian Eriksen, whose sale would likely help fund the move. Headline number 5. Manchester United want to recoup £80 million for striker Lukaku with Inter Milan primed should Conte succeed Spalletti. I'm going to take up an unpopular position here, especially for United fans, but I like Lukaku. When Chelsea sold him to Everton in 2014, I was not happy. I understand that he's not looked good for a while, but for a player who's not looked good for a while, his stats are pretty darn fantastic. I mean, 28 goals in 55 Premier League starts at a struggling, inconsistent Manchester United. How many players have really been showing their best form since Fergie left the club? One of his biggest criticisms is that he scores soft goals and he doesn't turn up on the big stage when the pressure is on. But let's not forget that it was Lukaku who scored a brace in United's Champions League salvaging comeback against PSG this season. It was Lukaku who scored yet another brace, including the winning goal in the 89th minute against Southampton in a must-win game to keep United's top 4 hopes alive. And this despite struggling for minutes under Solskjaer. He's also still pretty young. He's only just, like, a few days ago turned 26 years old. He's big, he's strong, he's super fast on the sprint. He maybe lacks a little bit technically, but can improve, and he's a humble team player. Is he worth $80 million? I mean, maybe it's a bit steep, but in this transfer market, for a striker that's only 26 years old and probably hasn't even reached his very best, it really doesn't seem like that much. And he could, as it is, I could see him scoring 20 plus goals in Serie A season. And Inter is a club that is making a comeback to world football relevancy. They could use him. Thanks for watching another episode of Reading Between the Headlines. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, maybe even share it. And if you have anything to add, please comment below. From myself and little tiny broken Picard, so tiny, so broken, we hope that you live football and prosper.